Aloha, I'm Lyla Berg. Mahalo for tuning in to Island Focus. We're here at the Downtown Arts Center to converse with local leaders about what's being done to enhance and revitalize downtown Honolulu. Thank you for joining us on Island Focus. So tell me a little bit more about this special place.
Well, our whole neighborhood is a special place.
Yeah.
It's Chinatown. It's been here for 200 years, but it needed something special. So what we wanted to do was have an arts and culture theater district.
And many people came together to make this happen.
All the businesses, all the nonprofits, we all worked together to make this neighborhood the arts district. It took us 20 years to get to this point. We talked for 6 nonprofits into opening the space with us. So they cleaned it, they painted the walls, and this is what we have now. And it's because the nonprofits and their artist volunteers came together to help make this happen.
So it really was and is a gathering place.
Absolutely. We all own it. We all volunteer here together. We all support it financially, as well as with our time and treasure. People bring their talents here to showcase.
You know, Greg, as president and CEO of the Hawai'i Theater Center, we're in your neighborhood here.
Very much. Chinatown is anchored on one side by the historic Hawai'i Theater Center and the gateway to Chinatown, Dr. Sun Yat-sen Park.
So tell us a little bit more about Hawai'i Theater, its evolution, and where are you going now with that?
Well, the historic Hawai'i Theater was built and opened in 1922. So this year we're kicking off 99 years of existence. In 2022, it'll be our 100th anniversary, and we have a centennial celebration plan. The theater started out as a movie and vaudeville house. So on opening night in 1922, the first feature film that was supposed to be shown for the opening was The Three Musketeers. Unfortunately, the ship that it was on was still several miles offshore, so opening night wasn't able to kick off as they had hoped. And instead, a group of local opera singers came in and some Hawaiian musicians and made a tremendous celebration the best way that the folks here knew how at the time, which was really a kani kapila.
And Hawai'i Theater has gone through renovations. It's lived through a lot of the economic ups and downs of Honolulu. Where are you now in terms of building an audience, building not just performers, because we have lots of artists here?
Well, the Hawai'i Theater over the last several years has undergone a major transformation, starting with the reopening in 1996 under the leadership of Sarah Richards, who, along with Bob Midkiff and the entire community, raised $32 million to restore the theater to its current state and grandeur. It's now a community resource, so we're an independent nonprofit. We feature local productions, we feature music, concerts, we bring in major touring shows, and we also have a children's theater education program that helps to perpetuate the arts in our community.
Well, and with social media and with all the technology, it must be a bit of a challenge to have kids come and participate.
It's a big challenge, but it's a huge opportunity. We're able to connect with our audiences via social media. Over the last 3 years, we've grown our audience database from 20,000 people to nearly 100,000. So one of the spin-off benefits of everyone being shut in with COVID is that they were able to still come to the theater virtually through our live stream programming. They joined the theater and supporting it with their donations. And because of the community's support, they've helped us to be able to stay open and help support the programs like the Kids Education Program.
It's very exciting to hear. And there's nothing like being in the theater.
You know, it's really incredible to see the look on the young people's faces when they're on stage for the first time. And they look out on a sea of 1,400 seats, and they see these very grand, opulent gold rails and the beautiful green seats and the emblems in the ceiling of the theater. you see in their face the wonder and awe of being on stage for the first time. In a time when most kids' performances are done as selfies or on Instagram or YouTube, where they're trying to reach other people through very small format, having them come onto the stage and learn how to be a true performer on stage with a live audience is really remarkable. The kids are primed for it, and it helps with their learning and education by having them on stage working as a group to accomplish great things.
What thoughts can you have regarding how to develop that within the schools? Because not every school will value performing arts as a vehicle of learning.
I think that if we can have more teachers that are looking for opportunities like ours, and we recognize that teachers are stretched very thin with resources and time constraints and STEM education, but we can't leave arts out of education. The arts help to cue the imagination and the interest in students to continue to learn and also to express themselves in healthy and satisfying ways. We also recognize that the arts in education make a difference in children deciding if they're going to go on to higher education and find other ways for them to develop in their career paths. So for teachers, we hope that they would reach out to us and work with us in helping to secure additional funding to support their participation in our programs. Several of our very generous donors have set up programs to pay for buses for schools to come when we can have field trips again. In the meantime, we work with the schools and bringing the kids in on stage through the theater education program.
What is your sense about how downtown Honolulu is also honoring the arts and trying to revitalize not just the history, but the life downtown?
We need Chinatown to remain an authentic place for people to come enjoy. One of the things that we see in other districts, particularly that are driven by tourism, where you have commercial gentrification of the commercial areas, and we're losing the quaintness, we're losing the history of the place. George Kanahele called it the sense of place, Hawaii sense of place. And it's something that we in the Chinatown district take very seriously and recognize that we need to bring locals in to be able to enjoy the place. And we need the help with the city to help improve our access to the arts, help provide funding for centers like the Downtown Arts Center, where we've just gotten a great program set up, and now there are challenges they're facing with regard to funding. And then also help us in working with the less fortunate in our community that are unsheltered and are populating our streets, that have been pushed into Chinatown from other areas. We have a lot of challenges, but we also have a lot of opportunities.
Well, and it's kind of exciting, you know, that you're part of the leadership here. Some parting thoughts for the audience.
We want the audience to recognize that the Hawaii Theater is an independent nonprofit. We're only around because of their support. We don't receive any government funding for operations of the theater. And so consequently, we fund ourselves through programs and through memberships and community engagement. The arts have value. The Hawaii Theater has value. We're the last remaining historic show palace on Oʻahu. And we want the community to enjoy it and support it and recognize that as a part of a vibrant Chinatown, we are a necessity.
Thank you for being with us today and for sharing with us your leadership, but also your vision of what's possible.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Lyla.
your time.
Aloha.
You've just had the opportunity to meet Greg Dunn, who is the president and CEO of Hawaiʻi Theater Center. We're in the heart of downtown where you grew up.
Right.
So as you've seen the changes and we're looking at revitalization now, what does this all mean to you?
So I came into the neighborhood as a businesswoman 20 years ago, and it was trash. I mean, this neighborhood was really horrible. And since that time, because of First Fridays, we have many, many bars and restaurants on Hotel Street in that one block. And First Friday just made it all happen, that people took notice of our neighborhood. This is our neighborhood.
And when you talk about heart, entertainment,
The arts and culture.
restaurants, theaters, What do you foresee in the future?
That this becomes just the most bustling place, that people from all over the world will come to Honolulu, to the Arts District, Chinatown, because it's the happening place. Because what happens is when we see the neighborhood with positive things for people to do, then more people come and the undesirable elements will move away because there's no place for them.
Well, thank you for creating the Downtown Arts Center and sharing that vision with us.
Thank you for asking.
It's been a long time since we've seen each other, Russ, and now in your role as president of the Chinese Chamber of Commerce, you have even more to share.
Absolutely. It has been a long time since we've seen each other. We actually went to high school together a while back.
As the president now of the Chamber, share a little bit more about the history and your role now in revitalizing downtown Honolulu.
Okay, so there's two aspects to what you just asked. The history, the Chinese Chamber started in 1911. It started as a result of Chinese merchants, businessmen trying to get together to make sure they could support their operations, and they wanted to protect the cultural heritage of the Chinese here in Hawaii. A lot of people don't realize what occurred back at the turn of the century. I'm talking about the 19th century or in 1900s. Mm. There was two major fires in Chinatown, one in 1886 and then another one in 1900, where about 11,000 homes were burned. 38 acres of land here in Chinatown were destroyed. The reason they started the 1900 fire was because one person had died of the plague and they wanted to make sure they eradicated that. But the fire quickly got out of control because of the winds that were blowing. And so it destroyed a lot of homes. At the same time, in 1900, Hawaii became part of the United States as a territory. And as a territory of the United States, the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 took effect. So Chinese were banned or discriminated against at that point in time. So the merchants felt that they needed to get together to want to rebuild their community, rebuild Chinatown, where most of the Chinese were living at the time, but there were also a lot of Japanese and Hawaiians that lived in Chinatown. So they wanted to bring everybody together to help support the businesses and the people and to protect the culture. While I just became president in June of this year, a month and a half ago, we've already started a kickoff program. Cleaning the place up would be the first step.
It's a bit ironic that almost every city has a Chinatown. What you're saying now in Hawaii, coming together again, which was the purpose for the chamber. How have the Chinese population or Chinese people been recognized for the good that they've done?
One of our founders was Hiram Fong. And as you know, he became the first Chinese or first Asian U.S. Senator in the United States, a statehood senator. That's one way we try to get some recognition.
So when we talk to our young people, right, about how Hawaii is not the melting pot, but we're a salad, right? We're all connected. We all are part of the fabric. What is it that you say to young people?
The Chinese Chamber has a young professionals group where we're trying to help the networking of the younger people, younger up and coming folks. You don't have to be Chinese to be part of the Chinese Chamber or the young professionals. The president-elect who's following me, he's a Caucasian fellow, and he's going to be the first Caucasian that's going to be the president of the Chinese Chamber, and we're really proud of him. For younger folks, what we're trying to do is trying to make sure that they have the necessary connections. In Hawaii, as we all know, business connections play a major role. Hawaii is a real person-to-person business kind of environment where who you know and what you know and how you know people is very helpful in whatever you're trying to accomplish. It's that people touch. I think that's part of the island culture. We all try to get along with each other. We don't honk our horns at people. Hawaii has a major brain drain of younger people that go off to the mainland and don't come back. And having younger people coming in and understanding how the system works and how the interplay between individuals work is very critical.
The Chamber is responsible for many other activities downtown, not only to bring businesses together.
One of our things that we're working on right now is the Congressional Gold Medal. The Congressional Gold Medal is an award that is being issued on behalf of the Congress, recognizing the contributions that the Chinese Americans contributed during World War II. There were 20,000 Chinese American veterans that participated in World War II, and they did not receive the recognition that other ethnic groups have received. And as a result, we are issuing these shirts, and we're selling these shirts as a part of the fundraiser so that we can make sure that we can pay for the gold medals to be able to issue them to all the remaining recipients.
And your father is one of them.
And my father was one of them. He was wounded in the Battle of the Bulge, and he was drafted right out of the University of Hawaii, American Army, just before the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time. Nice to see you again.
Thank you, Lyla.
Thank you for listening to my conversation with Russell Lau, the president of the Chinese Chamber of Commerce. So this is what you call the Red Room.
Yeah. We call it the Red Room because the theme is red. This is all of Lewis's artwork in here. It sets a mood. Actually, you know, red is a really hard color to live with. But the reds in this room has a more comforting feeling. So it's a great place to have meetings. We have our bonsai beaters that come in every second Saturday, and it's a small enough room so it's intimate. And so these 8 women come in and they make beads for us and jewelry, and they learn from each other, they talk stories.
It must be very exciting to be able to offer a place where people can create.
So Lewis used to tell me that life is art. Everything we do in life is artful. And so I've taken that as kind of our theme. And we want to incorporate art in everybody's life.
Wonderful idea. What a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Tony. I had no idea that there was a Hawaii Shakespeare Festival.
There's been a Hawaii Shakespeare Festival for 20 years now. We're going into our 20th season, but we're small, and so we're still kind of a secret from a lot of people. Yeah.
You're the best kept secret. Tell us a little bit more about this 20-year journey.
So we started sort of on a whim. 2 friends of mine and I, R. Kevin Garcia Doyle and Harry Wan III, who's the artistic director of Kumakahua Theater. And we'd all directed some Shakespeare, and we'd all taken classes from Terry Knapp at UH Manoa, and he instilled in us an incredible love of Shakespeare. And we were thinking, hey, we should all direct a Shakespeare play at the same time. We set that up, and that was just as a one-off festival. We called it the Summer Shakespeare Festival. And that went so well, we said, hey, we should make this a regular thing. We should do it every year. And that's how the Hawaii Shakespeare Festival was born.
Now, is performing arts and drama your background?
Not at all, no. I was a math major in school and then a computer programmer for a number of years. Hated my job, moved to Hawaii, and stumbled into theater because I wanted to do something that was as radically different as anything I had ever done before. I was looking for a complete change of life. And I took an acting class with Megan Evans that changed my life. I got out of that class. It was the most fun I've ever had. I've been doing theater ever since. So.
And I'm sure you discovered that it is your life.
It is. Oh yeah, it is.
So when we talk about theater, it's a little bit daunting for some people who are shy, or especially in Hawaii when we may not be that, I guess, familiar.
I think theater can be. I think you go to see a polished production, you know, and there's people who've been doing it for years, and they tap and they sing and they act, and you're just like, I could never do that. But nobody starts there. Everybody starts at the beginning somewhere. And some people start when they're 6, and so they have a lot of experience on you. But I started when I was 30, and I was painfully shy before I started doing theater. I was awkward. And theater really helps with that. And a big part of that was this introductory class that it's not about let's be as good as you can be, as fast as you can be. It's like, let's just have fun. Let's explore. Let's play some theater games. Let's see what this is all about. It was a wonderful introduction. So, yeah.
And what a concept to have fun and make money while at the same time.
I didn't say there's any money in it.
Well, we look at downtown and now the intent to revitalize and attract more local people, but also to bring back the energy and the history of downtown.
Yeah.
How does your festival contribute to that?
So we've been based out of the Arts at Mars Garage since 2007, and we haven't actually done a show there since the pandemic started. It's a beautiful space. It's very small. It's intimate, and I think that's well suited to Shakespeare, what we do. You really come close to the actors. You get to hear every word. You have a strong connection with the performers. But nobody wants that during the pandemic. So last season we did all our shows online, and this season we're doing 2 shows online and 1 outdoors at Hawaiian mission houses. So,
Can you share with us a little bit more about Shakespeare and how undaunting he really was? Because the language is so unfamiliar to us.
it is, and a lot of people will say, Old English, I never, and it's not, here's the trick. Shakespeare's not Old English, it's modern English, technically. And it's just a little bit of unfamiliar grammar and unfamiliar vocabulary. It is daunting. I was daunted. I hated Shakespeare growing up. I took a Shakespeare class and just thought this is the worst. And then I took this class, after I got excited about acting, I took this class with Terry Knapp. Actually, he cast me in a production of Merry Wives of Windsor, and I fell in love with it. Because when you do Shakespeare, it's a completely different experience than reading it in an English class. Shakespeare was meant for the stage. It's not meant to be just, you stare at these rhyming couplets, and just the accents, and you're just like, your eyes swim. But if you get up there and do it, it's about people who want things from each other. It's about sword fights and action and court intrigue, and it's gripping stuff. And the best way to appreciate it is to do it. So
how can someone become involved?
Well, we have auditions that are open auditions every season. Done for this season, but next season we'll be doing 4 days of auditions again. And we always encourage beginners, and we always cast beginners, because our mission is to make Shakespeare accessible to the people of Hawaii. And again, the best way to appreciate Shakespeare is to do Shakespeare. Second best way is to see Shakespeare. Worst way is to just read Shakespeare. So we cast beginners every season. We cast high school students, we cast adults who have never done Shakespeare before, who have never acted in a play before, alongside experienced actors. And that mix of beginners and professionals is really exciting. The beginners bring a lot of energy and excitement, and the professionals act as sort of mentors to the younger people, the less experienced people. And we have large casts, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
So what suggestion or inspiration or motivation can you give to the schools relative to our teachers, parents, relative to integrating Shakespeare in our lives?
I mean, if you're a drama teacher, you're all set. You know what to do. If you're an English teacher and you're tasked with teaching Shakespeare, I would do everything in my power to bring it to life. Bring in an actor, bring in a show off clips of performances, get some fight demos happening, some dance, anything like that. I mean, really bring the characters to life, make the students do it, have them even get up there and stumble through some iambic pentameter, because then they feel like what it's like to say those lines, and it means so much more than to just read them or hear someone else say them.
So what's one of your favorite lines?
One of my favorite lines, I see if I can quote this accurately. This is something that Hotspur says to his wife as he's about to go off to battle, and she's worried that she's never going to see him again. And he says, I'm going to war, but then you'll come after us. Whither I go, you go too. So.
Well, I think that's a perfect punctuation mark for this conversation, that as Shakespeare goes, as your festival goes, we should follow.
Thank you so much.
You've just had the pleasure of getting to know Tony Pisculi with the Hawaii Shakespeare Festival. So when we look at all of the different forms of artwork in this gallery, it touches me that there isn't just one way of looking at art.
That would be so boring, actually, if you really thought about it. Every one of us is really different. And like I always refer to Lewis, he always thought that everybody is an artist. And all we have to do is allow people to release that inner artist in them and create.
And artistry is not just visual arts.
Oh, no, that would be very boring. We have so many different senses, right? I mean, so it's drama, it's music, it's what you hear and what you feel and how you express that.
And this room is used for that as well?
Absolutely. So we have art classes in here for adults and kids. We have music. We're going to have drama presentations if it's art. we're going to do it.
So it seems to me that you are redefining art or defining art in a way that is so inclusive to so many people.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. You know, so like the guitar guys, right? The rock and roll guys, they don't really talk to the classical music guys, you know, the flutes and the... Because it seems like such a different world, but it really isn't. It's all great music.
Well, and what an opportunity you're giving young artists as well as Kama'aina artists the chance to come together.
Young and old. Yeah,
Thank
exactly.
you. Thank you for being with us today on Island Focus. I'm Lyla Berg. On behalf of the Island Focus crew and the entire staff at Ōlelo Community Media, aloha and malama pono. Take care of yourselves and our beloved Hawai'i. See you soon.